And there you have it, folks, the secret to getting 1 million subscribers on YouTube without uploading a single video. Hope you liked this video, guys. Oh wow, I feel like I'm about to die.
Kidneys! I've got new... everything? Okay. Oh, wow. Right. Could be better, I suppose. Could be worse. After the belly flop of an ending that was Russell T Davies's Series 14 of Doctor Who, I decided to rewatch Series 13, aka Flux. In comparison, it seemed almost nostalgically perfect. Well, in this video, I'm going to explore the extent to which Flux presented genuinely interesting science fiction concepts, but ultimately fell victim to an irritatingly convenient, bloated, unsatisfactory, and out-of-character conclusion. Despite these flaws, there's a lot to admire in terms of effort, production design, and special effects, especially considering the challenges faced during production, shooting and releasing in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. So buckle up as we dissect Flux, segment by segment from start to finish. Doctor Who Flux is the 13th series of the revived Doctor Who, and the third full season featuring Jodie Whitaker as the 13th Doctor. Penned by Chris Chibnall, this 6-episode event series aired in late 2021 amidst the COVID-19 pandemic and is to date the shortest full series so far. Don't let Russell get any ideas though. Flux deviates from the typical procedural Monster of the Week episodic format, opting for a serialized narrative that attempts to weave multiple storylines into a cohesive whole. The premise revolves around the universe-devouring phenomenon known as the Flux, which threatens to unravel the fabric of time and space. The beginning of the series throws the Doctor, Yasmin Khan, and new companion, Dan Lewis, into a chaotic adventure that spans across time and space. Along the way, they encounter old enemies like the Sontarans, Weeping Angels, Daleks, and Cybermen, as well as new adversaries, Swarm and Azure, and the Grand Serpent. Flux tries to deliver a blockbuster event, combining high stakes with intricate plot twists and character arcs that ultimately underdeliver. Jodie Whitaker's portrayal of the 13th Doctor has long been a topic of much debate. In Flux, we see her character pushed to new limits, grappling with the cosmic threat of the Flux, while uncovering hidden truths about her past, following up on the controversial Timeless Child revelation, first revealed in Series 12. Whitaker's Doctor is as energetic and compassionate as previous series, but also equally as prone to over-explaining and narrating her actions, which can sometimes feel out of place.
Come on, Doctor! There must be something you can do! One last throw the dice! I threw myself into a time storm here in the future to protect myself and my friends, but it threw me down into my own time stream in the middle of a memory that I've lost, and I'm losing control of it all.
Her interactions with companions Yaz and Dan are often heartfelt, with some compelling moments where her bossy, manipulative side comes through the cracks, resulting in some of the more nuanced moments of her run.
Pull me back! Pull me back! I want to go back in there! I have to get back in! Don't you? It's okay! It's not okay! Not for me! You don't understand anything!
Yasmin Khan, played by Mandip Gill, has shown significant growth since joining the TARDIS in Series 11. In Flux, she steps up as a more independent and resilient character, showcasing her detective skills and bravery. However, her arc is somewhat overshadowed by the series' numerous plotlines, especially due to the fact that for a large part of the season, Yaz is separated from the Doctor. While Yaz's bond with the Doctor is explored, there's a sense that more could have been done to deepen her character, particularly in terms of emotional depth, which is a rather unfortunate thing to say in a companion's third series. Dan Lewis, played by comedian John Bishop, is introduced as the new companion in Flux. He brings a refreshing, everyman perspective to the TARDIS, especially compared to the more recent Ruby Sunday, whose supposed importance is completely manufactured and ingenuine. John Bishop's portrayal of Dan is charming and humorous, making him an instantly likeable character, and a fan favourite. But despite his promising start, Dan's development feels underwhelming due to the series' fast-paced nature. His constant reminders of being from Liverpool are endearing, but sometimes overplayed. But John Bishop's comedic chops carry the character. More interactions with the Doctor and a more fleshed out arc could have elevated his role, as by the end of the series, he feels more like Yaz's companion, as he suffers the same fate of being separated from the Doctor for a large chunk of the series. But hey, at least nobody lied about how important his parents are. Swarm and Azure, the primary antagonists of Flux, are among the most memorable villains in recent Doctor Who history. Played by Sam Spruill and Rashenda Sandel, respectively, they exude charisma and menace. Swarm's vendetta against the Doctor and their plan to exploit the Flux create high-stakes drama, and the inclusion of Joe Martin's fugitive Doctor create an intriguing narrative and prompt stimulating questions, but their enigmatic nature and motivations are dragged out for far too long, and could have been explored in greater depth. That's not to say that they aren't the highlights of the series, especially thanks to the makeup and prosthetic work on the characters. This pair is one Chris Chibnall creation I'd love to see return in the future. Commander Inston V. Vinda, portrayed by Jacob Anderson, is a new character introduced in Flux, and another victim of Chris Chibnall's character naming approach. A soldier with a troubled past, Vinda's storyline adds a layer of intrigue and emotional weight to the series. His relationship with his wife Belle and his personal quest provide some of the more poignant moments in the show. However, like many aspects of Flux, Vinda's arc suffers from the overall pacing and the need to juggle multiple storylines simultaneously, especially his connection to the ultimately underwhelming Grand Serpent. Carvanista, the dog-like Lupari warrior, is a particularly engaging character. His mysterious history with the Doctor, and his gruff yet loyal personality, make him a memorable addition to the Doctor Who universe, and his comedic dynamic with Dan never gets old. Claire Brown and Professor Eustachius Jericho, prevalent in episode 4, Village of the Angels, show great potential as interesting companions in an otherwise bloated cast. Claire's involvement with the Weeping Angels and her unexplained connection to the Doctor add layers of intrigue and mystery to the narrative. Jericho, the courageous and open-minded professor from the 1960s, is another highlight. His relationship with Yaz and Dan adds depth to their characters, and his perspective as someone from a different era gives us the closest look at what a historical companion could look like in the modern era. Additionally, Diane, Dan's love interest, is a refreshing example of representation. Her character is well integrated into the plot, and her relationship with Dan is realistic and believable, offering a better portrayal of diversity than some of the newer episodes under Russell T Davies. Joseph Williamson, an obscure historical figure from 19th century Liverpool, is also used extensively and effectively in Flux. His character helps to explain some of the series' more complex story elements, and his presence adds a layer of historical authenticity to the narrative. The choice to use Liverpool as the modern day and one of many historical settings is a welcome change from the typical London backdrop, much like Chibnall's previous use of Sheffield as a companion's hometown. Beyond Swarm and Azure, Flux reintroduces several classic Doctor Who villains, including the Sontarans and the Weeping Angels. The Sontarans are given a fresh twist, blending their menacing nature with dark humour, and a refreshing blend of their classic and modern designs. Their appearance in War of the Sontarans is a standout, showcasing a perfect blend of classic and contemporary Who, especially in the previously unexplored historical context of the Crimean War. Have I mentioned how much I love this episode? The Weeping Angels return in Village of the Angels, delivering one of the more chilling and memorable episodes of the series, with one of the best cliffhanger endings of the Chibnall-Whitaker run. These villains are used effectively, adding to the nostalgic and thrilling aspects of Flux, and don't overstay their welcome. Unlike previous showrunners. On the other hand, the Grand Serpent's plotline, involving his founding and infiltration of UNIT, is initially intriguing, but ultimately underdeveloped. While it adds layers to the series' lore, it feels somewhat rushed and disconnected from the main narrative. Similarly, the appearance of Tek Taoun, who is revealed to have been behind the Flux all along, and the introduction of a parallel universe are fascinating concepts that deserved more exploration, especially after the multitude of revelations in the previous series regarding the Doctor's past as the Timeless Child, and their history with division. However, despite the revelation that she is behind everything, and holds the key to the Doctor's hidden memories, this character is anticlimactically killed off before any more questions can be answered. One of Flux's strongest points is its ambitious sci-fi concepts and diverse settings. The idea of the Flux as a universe-devouring force is genuinely intriguing and new to Doctor Who, providing a high-stakes backdrop for the entire series. The series explores various time periods and locations, from the Crimean War and Victorian Liverpool to futuristic spaceships and time planet temples, keeping the narrative visually and thematically diverse. The concept of the division and its ties to the Doctor's past adds a layer of mystery and complexity. This exploration of the Doctor's hidden memories and the introduction of characters like Swarm and Azure tied to this backstory are bold storytelling choices. The setting of Village of the Angels, with its time-locked 1960s village, is atmospheric and effectively creepy, showcasing the series' ability to blend historical and sci-fi elements seamlessly. However, the introduction of a new universe in Survivors of the Flux ultimately leads nowhere, and the consequences of the Flux are never dealt with in the aftermath, which only raises more questions. Despite its flaws, one has to admire the effort put into producing Flux, especially given the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic and the show's looming cancellation. The series' production design and special effects are incredible, showcasing a high level of creativity and resourcefulness. From the detailed historical settings to the futuristic landscapes, Flux delivers numerous visually stunning and immersive environments. The special effects, including the portrayal of the Flux and the Weeping Angels, are top-notch, and the prosthetic and costume work on alien characters Swarm and Azure and Carvanista are some of the best the show has had in years, and probably will be the best for years to come. The use of practical effects and CGI blends seamlessly, enhancing the overall viewing experience. The ambition behind creating a blockbuster event series in such challenging times is commendable, highlighting the dedication and talent of the Doctor Who team. The first two episodes, The Halloween Apocalypse and War of the Sontarans, offer a strong start to the series. The Halloween Apocalypse sets the stage with a sense of urgency and chaos, introducing key characters and the central threat of the Flux. Dan Lewis's introduction adds a relatable perspective amidst the cluttered yet compelling turmoil. War of the Sontarans stands out as my favourite episode of Flux. The return of the Sontarans with their new look, blending their menacing warlike nature with fitting dark humour, is a highlight.
And also, I wanted to ride a horse.
The historical setting of the Crimean War and the usage of historical figure Mary Seacole add depth to the narrative, making it more engaging and makes one appreciate original ideas for historicals, and the fact that they didn't resort to a more mainstream setting like Victorian London or World War II. The Doctor's determination shines through her confrontations with the Sontarans, and her relationship with the General Logan character is one of her most doctor-y so far.
Sometimes men like you make me wonder why I bother with humanity.
I am grateful that you do.
This episode showcases the best of Chibnall's historical storytelling, which seemed to rate better than his other episodes. Episode 3, Once Upon Time, attempts to delve into the character's past and the mysteries of the Flux. While the fragmented narrative offers intriguing glimpses into Yaz, Vinda and the Doctor's lives, it can also be confusing and disjointed at times. The ambitious storytelling choice doesn't entirely pay off, leaving viewers with more questions than answers. This episode highlights the series' struggle to balance multiple plotlines and character arcs within a limited time frame, and seemingly exists to spout exposition. Just like the 13th Doctor. Village of the Angels is a standout episode, delivering a chilling and atmospheric story. The Weeping Angels are at their most terrifying, and the 1960s village setting creates a claustrophobic and eerie atmosphere. The twist ending, where the Doctor is turned into a Weeping Angel herself, is both shocking and brilliant, showcasing the series' ability to deliver high-stakes drama and genuine surprises when necessary, only furthered by the scene where Dan, Yaz and Jericho fall victim to the Angels themselves, and get separated from the Doctor in the past. This episode encapsulates some of the best of what Flux has to offer in terms of storytelling and horror elements. My least favourite episode has to be the 5th one, Survivors of the Flux. It struggles with pacing issues and attempts to juggle too many plotlines. The introduction of the Grand Serpent, while intriguing, feels underdeveloped and detracts from the main narrative. The episode's attempt to wrap up multiple story arcs ends up feeling rushed and unsatisfactory. It's a clear example of the series' challenge in balancing its ambitious scope with coherent storytelling. The 1904 storyline featuring Yaz, Dan and Jericho is one of the more adventurous arcs in Flux, where the Indiana Jones-style adventure sees the trio engaging in historical exploration, adding a fun and dynamic element to the narrative, despite a pretty cringeworthy, comedic scene involving a hermit in the anticlimactic conclusion at the Great Wall of China, where they leave a message for Carvanista to, fetch your human, detracting from the overall experience thanks to the incredibly abrupt conclusion. A notable oversight is that Yaz, Dan and Jericho spend 3 years in the past from their point of view, separated from the Doctor, yet this significant period is never addressed again, missing an opportunity for deeper character development, both psychologically and emotionally, with Yaz particularly, who at this point had already been separated from the Doctor for an entire year after a previous adventure. Despite these flaws, the effective usage of the Weeping Angels in the last episode provides some redeeming qualities, as previous Angel stories simply have characters die off screen, or kill off expendable side characters. Additionally, the return of Kate Stewart is a welcome return, adding a touch of continuity and familiarity to an otherwise uninteresting plotline. Her character's inclusion is a highlight, even if the surrounding narrative doesn't quite live up to its potential. Though I do always enjoy seeing Unit when they come around. Or at least I used to. Episode 6, The Vanquishers, aims to tie up the numerous plot threads, but ultimately feels rushed and unsatisfactory. The finale tries to juggle too many elements, resulting in a cluttered and uneven conclusion. The resolution of the Flux and the fate of the Doctor's allies feels hurried, diminishing the emotional impact and leaving many plotlines inadequately addressed. The infamous chocolate scene involving the Sontarans feels out of place and cringeworthy, detracting from their otherwise threatening presence, and the plot point of the Doctor being split up into 3 separate versions of herself to solve multiple problems at once seems all too sudden and convenient, even if it is supposedly explained via technobabble. One of the most contentious points in the series is the Doctor's out-of-character decision to solve the Flux crisis through the genocide of her enemies. This resolution feels jarring and inconsistent with the Doctor's established principles, raising significant ethical questions and leaving a sour taste in the mouth of long-time fans. However, despite the second half of the series bearing the burden of wrapping up the multiple storylines established in the first half, Chibnall doesn't blatantly lie to his audience like Russell T Davies does in Series 14.
The story of Ruby Sunday is coming to the most enormous climax that is genuinely exciting.
In conclusion, Doctor Who Flux presents genuinely interesting science fiction concepts, but ultimately suffers from an irritatingly convenient, bloated and unsatisfactory conclusion. The series starts strong with engaging episodes and intriguing characters, but falters in its pacing and execution towards the end. The characterization of the main team and enemies shows potential, but their development is often hindered by the fast-paced and fragmented narrative. Despite these flaws, Flux is a testament to the creativity and resilience of the Doctor Who team. The production design and special effects are impressive, and the ambition behind the series is evident. Considering the challenges faced during production, including the pandemic and looming cancellation, the effort put into creating Flux is admirable. Overall, I'd only give Doctor Who Flux a 6 out of 10. It's an ambitious series with high points and memorable moments, but it ultimately falls short in delivering a cohesive and satisfying conclusion. Nevertheless, it remains a noteworthy entry into the Doctor Who canon, whatever canon means in Doctor Who, offering a glimpse into what the series can achieve, even in the face of adversity, especially since what comes after seems unable to build on the positives and deliver a more consistent and fulfilling experience.
Space babies!
Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Super Video Films for more filmmaking, and maybe even more Doctor Who content. Please let us know if you want to see more stuff like this. Goodbye.